Hey everyone, John here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about hats. Have you ever had a hat so nice you had someone come up to you and tell you that you need two of them? One to shit in and one to cover it up with? Well, that's how I feel about some of these wool felt hats. I've had quite a few of them. Now, this one's not a real bad hat, so I don't want to give you that impression. This is not a real bad hat for it to be wool felt. It's decent for the price. It was about $39. But I've had some really shitty wool hats before, and I want to talk about that sort of medium versus at least straw and also felt, because while I don't own any felt hats currently, well, I do technically ones in the mail, and I want to talk about that in a little bit. I do own straw and felt, and as far as what you're going to get for your money with these, so just to jump right into it, I have owned probably five felt fedoras, and one of them was an Outback hat. And that one was fine. It didn't shrink up on me. It was comfortable, floppy as all get out. But it's just a cheap made hat, real soft, crushable felt. This is what you'd expect. You know, it's an outdoors felt. It's not meant to actually be a pretty or nice looking hat. And after that hat, I started investing small amounts of monies into felt fedoras that were a little bit stiffer, or supposed to be a little stiffer. And what I kept finding was they kept shrinking up on me, and I kept having to basically just throw them away, because even if I stretched them out, they had shrunk so much that I ended up with basically having a cone-shaped head. The hat would just shrink up. Now this one's not too bad. This one has shrunk a little bit, but not real bad. You can see, and it came from the factory with a taper in the top, in the crown. It did come from the factory with a taper, and that's just how this hat is blocked. And I don't care that much for that. But you can see, it's a nice looking hat for it to be a cheap hat. That being said, it has shrunk on me. As you can see, it sits pretty high above my ears. If I tilt my head down, it does try to fall off of me. So that is a problem. I actually have a hat jack in the mail to try and stretch this thing back out. That is not a problem. Moving on to a different medium, that's just not a problem with straws. And of course, you know, felt, I mean, these things, you can just crush them and wad them up, throw them on the ground and stomp them. There's my ribbon, just came off of it. I make my own ribbons, and I don't sew them onto the hat, I just slip them on so I can switch ribbons. I have brown ribbons that I've sewn, I have red ribbons, I have festive ones for Christmas, and I'm probably going to do a green one for St. Patrick's Day coming up. So, you know, I've got them all to fit this hat. It's a good little hat just to play around with. But moving on to the different materials, I've got straw hats galore. And this is one of my favorite hats. This is a ribbon I made. You can see the bow on it, and I sewed the emblem back onto it. And it's a nice looking hat. I really like it. It's got a 1 3/4 inch brim. Now, one of the things with straw is that it's, at least with this sort of Toyou straw, is that it's fragile. If you get it wet, it'll destroy it. And if you crumple it, it'll put a permanent wrinkle in it. You can't crush these. So that is a bit of a downside to these. You have to be fairly delicate with them in order to get them to maintain their shape. But it's a very attractive hat. This is one of my favorite hats, and it cost me like $18. They're very affordable, and you can get a nice, well-made hat for very inexpensive, and you can wear them every which way. You can be an indie musician, I hate that look, or you can have it slightly tilted on you at a more civilized position. I like this myself personally. Or you can have it straight on, which is a little more serious, at least as serious as a 1 1/2 or 1 3/4 inch brim can be. Getting that out of the way, this is a little bit different one. This is a looser weave. I forget what they call this. I got this for the really hot summer months. It is a really loose weave though, and you can see, I don't know if you can see through it or not, maybe. No, you can't see through it. You can actually see through this. The weave is loose enough that you can see through it, but it's still, so it breathes really well. But it still holds its form really nice. From a distance, you can't see through it. And it's got a wider brim. And this wider brim, what it does is it actually keeps the sun out of your eyes for a longer period of the day. So that little 1 3/4 inch brim might work till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of summer, where this might work till about 7 o'clock, keeping the sun out of your eyes before you have to start pulling that thing way down. So this is, I really do like the little bit wider brim, 2-inch brim is my favorite brim. Now this is a really nice material to have a straw hat made out of. Now this is a straw hat that I think could be worn past summer, and in spring, it would be reasonable to wear something like this because it is such a soft fedora, and it doesn't really look like straw that much. It's let me look up what this is called. All right, I am back and with answers. So the first one I showed you guys, this is, like I said, Toyou Straw Hat, and I'll go ahead and give you guys a quick close-up of this thing to let you see what the pattern looks like on this, how it's stitched. And that'll sort of give you an idea. Now this is, like I said, they're a sort of stiff hat. They're a stiff straw hat. And if you crush them, you'll damage them. This is the same way. This is a shantung. And this is just a lighter weave on this. And it's a lot lighter by its weight also. You really can barely feel that you're wearing it. It's such a lightweight hat. It's a real pleasure to wear on a hot summer day. It blocks a lot of UV on the brim, but the top is open enough that it's breathable. And if you got a head of hair, you really don't have to worry about the sun hitting you up there anyway. So this is a really nice hat. I like it. It's good for the hot summer days. Then we've got this one. This one is probably my favorite just for casual wear because it just looks so nice. This is a Scala Classico, and this one is a very durable straw hat. This is called a Malign Weave, M-I-L-A-N. And what this is they start with just basically a string of woven straw, and they just build the hat out from a circle from the center of the crown all the way out and all the way out to the brim. And that gets you a hat that is crushable. So this is a straw hat, but it behaves like a felt hat. So I can take this thing, I can crush it out flat, pop the crown open, take it and roll it up just like you would a fedora. And then whenever I'm ready to take it out, just knock her out, bash her crown back in, and it's ready to wear. So this is a nice hat, and it's got a really nice looking ribbon on it. Scala really did a good job when they designed this hat. I feel like it's just they really knocked it out of the park on it. It's really good for a straw hat. It's something I couldn't see myself investing a lot of money in, and for $40, this really is just a nice hat. Getting back to wool felt hats, I've been wearing these things for the past probably 2.5 years, 3.5 if you want to count the wool felt Outback hats. And you know what? I don't have a single bad thing to say about those Outback hats. Those things, they embrace the fact that wool felt, it is floppy. And those things are durable and robust. And you know what? This thing's going to be durable and robust too, but it doesn't hold its shape real well. It's better than a lot of the other wool felt ones that I've owned that are cheaper, but it just seems like you're definitely paying for what you get. And if I'm going to drop $70 on something like a Stetson Fredrick, which is wool, I'm going to go ahead and drop an extra $50 or $60 and get one that's fur felt, or get one that's at least got a fur wool blend in it. So that's just my logic with this. I've had a good experience with this hat besides the fact that it's shrunk a little bit, and it does look nice. It certainly does look nice, but when you get close to it, you can tell that it's a wool felt. It's rough, and just by looking at it, you can tell. You know, I've worked on Stetsons. I've worked on the nicest one that I worked on, and I've worked on these because I've had to rebash my wool felt hat so much, and my friends know that they've let me work on theirs. And the nicest one that I worked on was for a friend of a friend. He found out about it, and I put a new hat band on his hat and put a new liner in it. And then he also sent me a resistol to work on. And the resistol was about 50 years old, and it had a nap so fine. It was probably beaver fur felt, but the nap was so fine it felt like velvet. And I just don't think that you're ever going to find a wool felt hat that's ever going to have that texture. So I've decided to go ahead and spend a little more, invest and buy a hat that I'm not going to have to throw away in a couple of years, something that'll last me more than a couple of years, maybe 15 years, maybe 20 years. Maybe I'm being hopeful, but I hope they'll last like that long. Maybe a rabbit fur will, because that's what I'm getting. Before I let you guys go, I want to let you see the texture of a wool felt hat. You can see, if I move my face out of frame so the camera will focus, it's got a fairly rough texture, and you can actually hear it. It's a rough texture, and it tends to attract dust because it's such a felty texture. Once you get a little bit of dirt in it, it's really hard to get it out. Dog hairs, if you've got pets, will stick to this stuff like the devil. So, you know, they're a little harder to maintain. They don't keep their shape as well. Good starter hats, but, you know, definitely, I think it's time for me to invest more because I've been wearing these enough that it's worth, you know, spending couple $100 on a hat, you know. So in that case, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to drop it a like down below, and I'll see you in the next one.